Ileana, no one had told me about the world engines inside the core of the moon. It's information that came out of my memory regressions in various hypnosis sessions that I had done for me over the last 6 years. So that's where it came from, because I had served on the moon for several years with planetary corporations as well as on Mars. So it's basically information that I've always known on my own. I didn't have anybody tell me about it or get help. So that's how I know about them. The world engines on the moon had been damaged when it came to our solar system and was parked around Earth. So there's a lot of levels to those world engines, and the planetary corporations are trying to figure out how to fix those engines because it's extraterrestrial technology. So when I was there on the moon, they were still looking to figure out how to replicate parts for the engines. Again, it's very complicated technology, and it's not from the solar system, even the moon. It's like a laboratory and a city and a huge artificial planetoid that was created to travel in different galaxies, but it was damaged, so it was parked near Earth. I've mainly been concentrating on disclosing publicly on my Awakening Cosmic Reality show on YouTube that there's the Cybernetics Labs, biological drug serums, healing with plasma, all that stuff in subcutaneous immunoglobulin therapy and intravenous immunoglobulin therapy, autoimmune stuff and neurological stuff. That's what I've been disclosing about my experiences working on Mars in the Cybernetics Labs with planetary corporations. So that's what's in the public domain, about human cyborgs being built on Mars and synthetic biologicals, that kind of stuff. It's interesting how there's like working memories in the hypnosis stuff that people have of building gyroscope drives, warp drives, all kinds of stuff, plasma drives for spaceships, space stations, etc. But they don't have the working information. Like, they know what they were doing, but not how they built it. That memory stuff is repressed or completely erased, so they can't reproduce the stuff here in the now in 3D on Earth, because obviously it would then ruin the economy and stuff. So that's quite interesting as well. Rudimentary memories, but not the how-to to reproduce it again. Luckily for me, I got medical information on biological drug serums from the hypnosis regression, and I could do the immunoglobulin therapies because that is available on Earth, and that's something that I was working on and given drug serums on Mars to boost my autoimmune system and neurological stuff. So that's something I could reproduce. It took me 6 years of different medical testing and stuff to figure out how I would do it and get access to off-label subcutaneous immunoglobulin therapy. And I've documented that publicly, that I've done that. So I was able to use my memories to get what I needed. As well, I work with crystals and energy healing on myself and others. So that's something else that has really helped me along with my own healing process, and for others who I've worked with, because certain crystals have properties, and if made into wands and other tools, the energy is harnessed in ways that's very powerful for the healing, because there's crystal engines in certain types of ET spacecrafts that I had seen as well in the nacelles. So I have memories of that as well. So I just decided to use crystal healing on myself and others in certain ways of crystal technologies that inspired me the crystal engines that powered the ships. The planetary corporations and the Cybernetics Labs build perfect biological cyborgs. You can't even tell the difference, and they have very interesting Neuralink implants that allows them to pilot ships telepathically from long range distance, as well as do informational downloads of medicine, law, whatever that's needed for the work done in the labs. So that's actually coming up in shows like Star Trek Picard, Emergence, and Altered Carbon. So this is starting to be disclosed quite a bit in what's going on Mars, and what I suspect they're also doing on Earth in private corporations and special ops projects. So the term that you were using as VATS for transporting the extraterrestrials for examination and stuff to make their own environment in those VATS, we call it in the programs portable Meditec units and stasis pods. When somebody is injured out in the field, like a soldier is injured and the suit has failed, the Meditec unit is called up to retrieve the body, even if the person is unconscious, and bring them into the lab for medical treatment, or transporting ETs and stuff in the stasis pods. So that's what we call it in the programs for planetary corporations: Meditec units and stasis pods. A lot of what's been done on Mars in the Cybernetics Labs have also been, it's a planned agenda for Earth, and it was outlined in the Cyborg Soldiers 2050 document for the Army and DoD. It's about 42 pages. They talk about implants, strength enhancements, smart suits, and even underground facilities and cities, about the new warfare tactics that will be available and how soldiers will be augmented with cybernetics technology. So that's out. It's been out since 2019 document. It's very similar to what's already in my public presentations since 2017. So that's something also to mention and look at. The CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing, I mean, that's already been done on planetary corporations. Mars space is more advanced than CRISPR-Cas9, what they have with the genetic scanners and genetic splicers. They're small and portable that can instantly erase the genetic flaws, like edit that out from the genome if there's a problem, because the scanners pick it up. You don't even have to get a blood test for genetic testing anymore for that. But here on Earth, it's just their answer is CRISPR-Cas9, but it doesn't perfectly cut the genome, the exomes. So that technology still has a long way to go for gene editing and gene splicing. That's kind of what I gathered, because those scanners are perfect. I had my genetics tested at Blueprint Genetics in Finland, and because I knew when I scanned my DNA, I knew there was a missense mutation in the ATP1A2 gene, FHM2, familial hemiplegic migraines 2. So, and it takes like 2 weeks to do the genetic testing. They do the whole sequencing of 200 something genes plus deletion and duplication. So it's the plus sequencing test with, it's not Sanghar anymore, it's NGS now. So it's good. They made some advancements, but it's still behind compared to what Mars has. I mean, next generation sequencing, genetic testing picks up far more things. All the big missense variants if you have the mutation, but it also picks up the deletion duplication. So the variant that I had is C1777C-T, ARG593TRP mutation. That's where it's in. So we've come a long way, still to go. Whole genome sequencing also would be good if most of the genetic labs offer that. They only do whole exome, most of them sequencing, because it's still expensive, but whole genome sequencing would be nice. Wes whole exome sequencing is okay, but WGS whole gene sequencing is better. But I don't think it picks up the small deletions and duplications, because it scans for just the big missense mutations, from what I understand, when like looking at my memories and stuff. So thankfully I only needed the migraine genes tested, and epilepsy and mitochondrial and stuff, so, and seizures. So it was very targeted blueprint genetics testing, not anything. I didn't need whole genome sequencing or whole exome sequencing, because I already knew the mutation that I'd seen in when doing my whole body scan energetically. The special ops medical and research laboratories like the Mars Cybernetics Labs have handheld palm scanner stations at the security checkpoint entrances to the facility to check the employee's DNA and genome to make sure their DNA has not been tampered with. Like the workers are still themselves and not biological cyborgs, clones, or augmented ETs masquerading as humans. As well, that there are no spy implants within the body other than the modifications the employees already have from the planetary corporations. These genetic scanners pick up even the most small changes and variances in someone's genome. The retinal scanners and finger scanners had been replaced with the hand palm genetic scanner stations for improved security measures, so that intruders could not get into the cybernetics labs on the Mars basis, and that that's how the security was done as well, replacing any type of badges or keys. So it's only through the genetic scanners that employees can get into the cybernetics labs to do to build the cyborgs, to do genetics experiments, build biological beings, etc. We also had the portable genetic scanners in the lab when working on creating biological cyborgs and doing the gene splicing with the scanners. We had created human ET hybrids as well, and looked at various ET genomes and used drug serums to actually alter SSB assets to temporarily make them into other humanoid ETs in order to negotiate with ETs that would only accept someone who looked like them during the trade negotiations. So that's something else we did in these cybernetic labs on a regular basis. And then the ET assets would be transformed back into themselves once the ET DNA wore off. The cybernetics labs have the holographic medical pods, which can repair any type of DNA, remove diseases, wounds, emotional trauma, physical stuff, regrow limbs. There's the Meditec portable units that can do some minor repairs on the way, and that's field ops. And there's also the regeneration tanks as well. So the portable Meditec units just basically check life support and keep you alive out in the field when you're injured until you can get into the holographic medical pod. So we have technologies that are like 200 years more advanced than what's here on Earth, that's on Mars, and drug serums, and these are the things there.